This is the KJ Singh Show with your host KJ Singh. So, nobody in their sane mind would call what is happening in Gaza a conflict or a war. Because, like Steve Plotnicki says here, when we look at other modern day conflicts, for example, Ukraine or in Russia, you'd never hear a Russian say that one Russian is equal to 1 million Ukrainians. That would be unthinkable. And it would be front page news, to say the very least. But this is commonplace. This has been normalized. And the media will not bat an eyelid at this sort of language. But this is not anything that is something of a rare of a statement. It's not something hyperbolic, because the official Israel Twitter account even said the quiet part loud in saying that there are no innocent people there, no innocent civilians there. So it appears that the propaganda efforts of this genocidal, ethnic cleansing occupation nation has reached a new threshold. Because initially it was about the lies, right? It was about the 40 beheaded babies, about their mass claims, mass essay, mass grape of, which actually incidentally, the latest UN report says there was no incidences of mass grape, no mass, essay, but there were the most obvious things, the fact that there was obviously October 7th was not necessarily ideal. It wasn't something I condone, but nor do I condemn it, because of course I'm not in that position. I'm not living in a open air prison. So whilst I would never do that sort of thing, I'm not compelled to do so. It's hard to condemn, as Norman Finkelstein would say, considering that from our ivory towers, we cannot condemn an oppressed people. Personally, I think it's not a good thing to harm in civilians. But is it my place to judge? And then we move on to our next point. Israel has said that there are no innocent civilians there, which is basically completely irrational. But at least they're just saying the quiet part loud now at this point. They're being honest, which is a nice change from the constant barrage of lies that we've seen from this occupation nation. But some people may say, actually, this is coming from real anger, real reaction to the October 7th, which can be considered a massacre. But interestingly enough, this is just based on racial hatred and the dehumanization of Palestinians that go back further than even prior to the establishment of the state of Israel, even before the Balfour Declaration. Moshe Shalansky says this: "We are dealing with a semi-savage, primitive people." It doesn't get more obvious than that. It doesn't get more blatant than that. So they have primitive concepts, and it's their nature. So basically creating a monolith of the entirety of the people there, the indigenous people. And in the future, I'll talk about how actually they are indigenous, considering looking at DNA evidence from a geneticist who happens to be Jewish, but he knows that they are indistinguishable from the Levantine population that were there 3,700 years ago. Which is, this reason why DNA analysis is not really encouraged in Israel. In some circles, it's actually outlawed. But it's not just this Zionist, speaker, not this, this leader of this Zionist principles. The very leader of Israel, or to-be leader of Israel, Ben Gurion, in 1937, said this: "The compulsory transfer of the Palestinian Arabs from the valleys of the proposed Israel state could give us something we never had, even when we stood on our own during the days of the first and second temples." I mean, the compulsory transfer? He's not even talking about some sort of, the tension between these different peoples. He's reflecting a lot of what Moshe Shalamsky said. He doesn't really regard the people's right to self-determination in any meaningful manner, because, of course, our determination reigns supreme, and they are lesser than us by implication, or explicitly said so by Moshe Shalamsky. So, I mean, you don't need to be, Sherlock Holmes to put it all together and say, actually, there's been a deep dehumanization of the people that are living there. In fact, there are many, Israeli experts who have concretely established over many years. For example, Gideon Levy, who's a contributor to Haaretz newspaper and a historian and somebody who actually knows quite a bit about the history. He says that there is an issue at play here. The reason why there is a dehumanization of the Palestinians, reason why they cannot see eye to eye, because of three main reasons. One of which is that Zionist Jews believe that they're the chosen people, and by implication, there's a supremacist notion to that. The second reason is that there is a kind of a self-victimization narrative, that we are forever the victims. And three, and the one which is most difficult to grasp, is the complete dehumanization of Palestinians. Just as we've seen, the complete just emptying of personhood of the people that live there. And this it's by design, because you can only colonize a land and rid them of the people on the land is if you humanize them to such a degree that their lives don't matter. That whatever is good, and we all can agree on what's good, laughter, enjoyment, emotions, ability to connect with family and friends. These are universal things. Ability to work together towards, something great. These are all universal themes. But when you dehumanize the Palestinians, you cannot see that in them. You cannot see the good in them. But as anyone with a working, functional empathy and intellect knows, the universe does not discriminate in terms of its beauty and intelligence. You can see beauty and intelligence in the far corners and every corner of the world. This self-serving narrative that beauty and intelligence is only in a certain group of people is very national socialistic. And in a future video, I'll talk about how there are a lot of overlaps and why Israel are a fan of this surge in far right in Europe and the recent European elections. There's a lot to be said about that. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, comment and subscribe. That'd be very much appreciated. Thank you.